Writing for Academic Success in Psychology, Unit 3, Vocabulary. This video is about 18 minutes long, but if you complete all the tasks, you should expect to spend about 45 minutes on the unit in total. In this unit, we're going to consider another aspect of academic writing that makes it different from everyday language. It's vocabulary. People often think that vocabulary is easy, because all you have to do is learn the meaning. However, though knowing the meaning is likely enough for reading, in order to use such vocabulary effectively in your own writing, you need to know much more than just the meaning of a word. Vocabulary also contributes to the features that make academic writing different, such as formality, complexity, precision and conciseness. So we'll also look at vocabulary in relation to these features in this unit. Starting with formality, as we saw in Unit 2, university assignments are formal and so require more formal vocabulary that avoids slang and everyday colloquialisms, such as obtain rather than get. These more formal synonyms of everyday colloquial words also have other features that distinguish them. One is that many of them have their origins in classical Latin or Greek, rather than being what we might call native English words. Because of this, such words may also exhibit unusual grammar, such as irregular plural forms like appendix, appendices, or addendum, addenda. There are also two other features of formal words. Let's see if you can identify them. In the following synonym pairs, first identify which you think is the more formal synonym. Then, based on this, can you work out whether formal words tend to be longer or shorter than less formal words, and whether more formal words are also more likely to consist of two or more words rather than just one? Pause the video now to complete the task and then restart to continue. Feedback. Of the synonyms appear and seem, appear is more formal, as are increase, assist, generate, inform, demonstrate, discover, consider, and eliminate. We can also clearly see that in every pair the formal word is longer than the less formal option, and in all the examples here the formal words comprise only one word, whereas a number of the less formal synonyms consist of two or more words, such as find out or get rid of. These phrasal verbs are very common in everyday spoken language, but tend to be much less common in academic writing. That's not to say that phrasal verbs are never used in academic writing. Indeed, there are several phrasal verbs which are particularly common in academic texts, such as take account of, set out to, point out, and be made up of. So occasional use of phrasal verbs can add some variety to your writing, but particularly informal ones should be avoided, and you might choose a more formal one-word alternative when you need to be particularly concise. Just as academic grammar tends to be more complex and densely packaged than everyday spoken and written language, academic vocabulary also tends to be more complex, because academic words are often built from or derived from other words by adding prefixes or suffixes to them. For example, ity, ation, and ness are all suffixes we can add to verbs or adjectives to make them into nouns, such as conciseness, investigation, and complexity. Groups of words all derived from the same root, such as operate, operation, operational, and operationalize, are known as word families, and if you know what the basic core meaning of e.g. operate is, this can give you access to the meaning of other members of the family. The ability to derive different forms of words in this way is useful when we want to rephrase ideas from other sources in our own words. Consider this example. We might paraphrase this sentence as follows. Note how the paraphrase utilizes other members of word families, along with synonyms, in order to communicate the meaning of the sentence in different words, such as communicate effectively, becoming effective communication, and what they do and do not know, becoming an audience's knowledge. To practice this, have a go at identifying the other members of the word family for the words underlined in this sentence, and then try to rephrase the first sentence using other members of the word families, along with synonyms and any other adjustments to the sentence necessary for it to make sense. Pause the video to complete the task, and then restart when you're ready for feedback. How did you do? Here are some examples of the other members of the word families for each of the words. And here's an example of how you might have paraphrased the sentence. Notice how I broke down the meaning of unattainable to unable to attain, after which I converted unable to the noun inability, converted ideal to idealized, and impossibly thin physique to impossible thinness. Susceptible and more likely also becomes susceptibility and higher likelihood, both of which are also examples of the noun-based phrases common in academic writing. In terms of precision and conciseness, by exploiting the complexity of noun-based phrases and word families, we can build up precise and concise descriptions of concepts and ideas, aiding the reader to understand exactly what you're trying to say. For example, if we consider this original sentence, it could be written as follows. However, we can see that word-like symbol strings is much more precise than just symbols. In addition, even without the precise description of symbols, the alternative sentence contains 19 words, so is both longer and less precise than the original sentence. Furthermore, as we mentioned in Unit 2, we can also be more precise by choosing words with more specific rather than general meanings. Do and say are two words that are very common, but also quite general in scope and can have a number of more specific meanings. For example, say could be replaced by a number of more precise words with slightly different, more specific meanings, such as express, convey or communicate, utter or pronounce, remark, observe or note, or claim, maintain, assert or profess. Now decide which of the given words could replace the more general words do or make in the following sentences. There may be more than one. As usual, pause the video, then restart for feedback. Feedback. The key thing to note in this task is that there may be a number of possible words with approximately similar meanings, but the context in which you are using them restricts your options. So in 1, only perform really works in this context, whereas in 2, both act and behave would work, in 3, suffice and be adequate, and in 4, you could have chosen create or design, or at a push, produce, although this has other meanings that could make the intended meaning ambiguous here, which we want to avoid. The kinds of vocabulary you will meet in your reading and need to use in your writing may also differ in terms of being more restricted to academic genres. The academic word list and academic keyword list identify hundreds of words frequent in academic texts, but less so in everyday writing. These lists are excellent tools for focused vocabulary learning, especially if you haven't had much experience in reading academic texts. The academic word list is also useful as it lists word families, like this example of analyze. Subject-specific vocabulary, on the other hand, is often only understood by those who work in specific disciplines and discourse communities. Examples include extrinsic motivation, metalinguistic awareness, learned helplessness, or availability heuristic in psychology. They are often fixed terms, which means you shouldn't substitute synonyms when paraphrasing. We also need to be aware that in academic writing, sometimes words with everyday meanings can be used with more specialized meanings, such as underline, used metaphorically to emphasize a point, or significant, which specifically relates to a statistical property rather than the everyday meaning of important or large. Can you correctly guess which words are common in everyday writing versus academic writing? How about subject-specific terminology or jargon? Try to find at least 2 examples of each. For example, distinction is an academic word, different is an everyday word, and extrinsic motivation is a subject-specific term. Pause the video as usual and then restart when you're ready for feedback. Each word has been categorized below, with everyday words in bold, academic words underlined, and subject-specific terms in yellow. Notice how both intrinsic and motivation are words from the academic word list, but are used together here to refer to a subject-specific concept. We need to know much more than just what a word means in order to use it effectively in our writing. This spidergram shows the different aspects of a word that it may be important to know in order to use it accurately and appropriately in your writing. In addition to a word's meaning, we also need to know how it's used in sentences, what synonyms or antonyms there may be, grammatical information, such as whether it's a noun or a verb, and what other words belong to the word family. We also need to know a word's common collocates, which I'll explain shortly, and whether the word is formal, academic, and appropriate for the kind of writing we are doing. Let's take the word analysis as an example. As we've already seen, analysis is part of the word family derived from analyze and is included in the academic word list, so we already know that this word is appropriate to use in your assignments, as well as related and derived words such as analyze and analytical. To find out much of the other information, we can consult a dictionary. Any well-known online dictionary such as Cambridge, Oxford or Longman should be fine. If we look at this entry for analysis from oxforddictionaries.com, we can see that in addition to the pronunciation, this word is a noun, and more specifically can be a mass noun or a count noun, i.e. we can have 1 analysis, 2 analyses and so on, as in an analysis of popular culture. And because it can be used as a count noun, the entry also tells us what the form of the plural is, which is analyses, so a little bit different from the usual way we make a plural in English. It would be analyses if we followed the usual rule. The numbers tell us that this entry has 1 key meaning with 3 slightly different meanings, including here 1 meaning that is specialized and specific to mathematics. For each meaning we are given a definition and often an example of the word being used in a sentence. For each meaning we are also given synonyms, and note how the synonyms belong to particular meanings, not to the word in general. This means that when we look for synonyms to use in our writing, we need to ensure that the synonym chosen is for the correct meaning for the word as you are using it. With this information, we can then complete several more elements on our spidergram: its meaning, examples, synonyms, and grammatical information. However, we still don't have any information on collocations with other words. Collocation may be defined as words that are regularly used together in speech or writing, often in a specific order, such as decline with suffer or standards, as in suffer a decline or declining standards. If we use unusual word combinations, it can make our writing feel unnatural or even strange. There's a really useful resource called Skell, which we can use to identify these collocates. You simply type the word you're interested in and hit enter to get a list of 50 examples of that word in use. This is useful both for finding useful examples of the word being used, as well as for starting to see collocational patterns. For instance, in these examples of analysis, we can see data appears several times as well. However, searching for the patterns ourselves can be time-consuming, so if you go to WordSketch, this website does it for you and lists all the common words that regularly occur with the queried word. So for instance, we can see that analysis often collocates with statistical, as the dictionary entry suggested. You can also click on each of these collocates to see more examples of these specific combinations, as is shown here for statistical plus analysis. This word sketch also shows us that as a subject, analysis reveals, shows, indicates, or suggests. If we click on Confirm, we can then see more examples of this combination in use, and perhaps also note that most of the examples are in the past tense, confirmed, showing that we more often talk about analysis confirming something in the past rather than the present. The word sketch also shows us that as an object, people conduct, perform, and undertake analysis. And again, by clicking on a particular word, we can see more examples of this combination. You can use all this information to create vocabulary logs for new words you meet. Note down any vocabulary that you frequently notice in your reading for your module. Have a notebook or use OneNote or another note-taking app on your tablet. Logs are useful for later reference, for reviewing and learning new words, and for generating flashcards to test and check your learning. Indeed, the very process of writing down a new word and information about how it is used can be helpful for learning it. Now it's time for you to have a go. Use the spidergram to guide you in creating a log for an unfamiliar academic word. Follow these 7 steps, pausing the video after each step to complete it, then restarting to complete the next step. You should be able to complete the task in about 10 to 15 minutes if you complete all the steps. Step 1. Go to www.uefap.com/vocab/vocfram.htm. Step 2. Scroll through the list of words and choose one that is either unfamiliar to you or familiar but you're not sure of its meaning or how it might be used. Step 3. Note down any related or derived words that form part of the word family to help you create your log. Step 4. Click through to the linked Cambridge Learners Dictionary entry for your chosen word from the AWL on the right-hand side of the web page. Note down any information that will help you to create your log for this word, such as meaning, synonyms, examples, and grammatical information. Step 5. Go to skell.sketchengine.co.uk and search for your chosen word. Note any useful examples of the word in context. Step 6. Then click on Word Sketch and note down the kind of words that regularly go with your chosen word, their collocates. Step 7. Finally, either using the spidergram format or using your own format, write up a logbook entry for this word. So how did that go? There isn't any specific feedback on this task as you are investigating a word of your choice, but you can compare your answers to the example spidergram for analysis in the previous section on developing your vocabulary. So that's it for this unit. Hopefully it's provided you with a starting point for developing your own academic vocabulary for your studies. And remember, if you have any questions, just drop me a line at k.bannister@uel.ac.uk.